Well, hello everybody and good afternoon. Although my remarks said it's good morning, I'm not going to promise to that traffic. Good afternoon. Appreciate you coming out. I was saying when I left the house this morning, it was 50 degrees and now it's cold and rainy. Thank you for really coming out and in a cold and wet and rainy day. I'm Sandra Haynes and I'm the Chancellor here at Washington State University Tri-Cities, in case for those of you who do not know me, and I know a lot of people in the room here. But I want to just start by introducing you to a great initiative that we have on campus. It's a fairly new initiative. It's not brand new, but as you'll see, the Institute for Northwest Energy Futures has been something we've been working on for a couple of years, but we haven't had full funding until recently. So you may have heard about it. You may have heard just a little bit about it. You may have heard we're developing it, but where is it? And so now today is the day we'd like to talk to you more about where we are at and why we are developing the Institute for Northwest Energy Futures. So I'll start off by saying one of the reasons why we are doing this is that, as this slide illustrates, the nation and really the world is in an energy transformation phase. You look across the globe, but clearly across the nation and across the state of Washington, we have goals to lower our greenhouse gas emissions, decarbonizing our future, or decarbonizing our emission sources. We want to mitigate climate change. So again, we want to decarbonize our energy sources so that we mitigate climate change. And as we're doing this, it's a very important piece of this work, especially for this campus, is to address equity issues in energy policy and production. So historically, you've seen underrepresented populations sort of bearing the brunt of some of the bad parts of our carbonized future. So for example, this is, I think, one of the easiest examples to wrap your head around. We often have lower income neighborhoods around airports. So those individuals will often have more health risks because of the emissions from airplanes. So we want to make sure that we're looking at equity issues when we're looking at decarbonizing our future. If you want to look into the future for an equity issue, everyone's saying we got to have electric vehicles. Well, I might be able to buy an electric vehicle, but I'll bet there are people in the room that could not afford an EV. So if we're just changing over, how do we make that equitable as we make that transition? So those are the kinds of things we're talking about with equity. When we're looking at our energy transition, it's important to know that we're looking at our power sources. How do we keep the lights on? How do we keep the heat on for today? Those kinds of things. How do we charge our electric vehicles? But also we're looking at liquid fuels and also natural gas. So those are the areas in which we're wanting to decarbonize all of those. And I would say just this last part of this slide is that Washington State has some of the most ambitious decarbonization goals in the nation. So as a state institution, it is incumbent upon us to make sure that we are helping the state to meet those decarbonized goals. So again, hence the Institute for Northwest Energy Futures. So as we conceived of the Institute for Northwest Energy Futures, we took a look at the WSU system as a whole, and we tried to figure out what is it that this particular campus could add to the existing research and the existing initiatives that are going on across the WSU system. There are 6 campuses. How can we add to the discussion here? And what we came up with is we don't have the nuclear reactor, and that's in Pullman, and we don't have certain other capabilities that other campuses have, or focuses on energy production, such as in hydrogen. What we can do here is do the data analysis. And so the Institute for Northwest Energy Futures will work across the system and across the state to do analyses that need to be done to help us into our decarbonized future. these are the areas in which we're going to be looking at for our analysis. We're going to be measuring the environmental impacts of products, materials, and processes. So you may think that we're in this lovely building and there was no carbon used in it, but actually there's a lot of carbon in the materials that were used to build this building. So how do we look at where those carbon impacts are and how do we mitigate them? Examining the economic feasibility and risks of processes and products with techno-economic analysis. So as I go back to the electric car, can everybody afford an electric car? No. Can we afford to put the infrastructure in for electric vehicles right now? Maybe, but we need to do all of those things in order to make it economically feasible. How many of you want your power bills to go up significantly? Probably none of us do. So we have to make sure that we're having reliable and economical electricity come to our houses. Otherwise, people are not going to adopt these things. So those are some of the things that we're looking at. We'll be using energy data analytics to predict energy demand and improve distribution. And here we're talking about the grid, and I would be remiss to talk about the grid at all when I'm sitting beside the grid expert here. But you know, when everybody goes home at night and plugs in their electric vehicle, I'm sorry, I'm stuck on electric vehicles, and turns on their stove and ovens and washers and dryers, are putting a big demand on the grid. Can the grid handle that without having blackouts, et cetera? Is our energy still reliable when we have all of the electric running out there, as you would say? And then we're again assessing the social impacts of action or inaction to help facilitate sustainable and social equitable results. So you can see all of these things are sort of interwoven. I like that graphic that our own Josh Haynes did to show how interwoven all of these things are. So I mentioned that we started this project about 3 years ago, and we started it with a gift from Bob Ferguson. There are some people in the room that know Bob or knew Bob Ferguson. He is since deceased, but he was a big advocate for energy and having clean energy, and his vision was to have a clean energy park on the Hanford site. So he was very invested in the work that we could do here, and so invested that he gave us $500,000 to endow a professorship to start the Institute for Northwest Energy Futures. He was the inspiration behind the saying, clean up to clean energy, as we like to say around here, and because of his vision and thought about turning Hanford into a clean energy park. Where was I? We solidified the Institute for Northwest Energy Futures last year as the governor put through funding through the legislature for $7.7 million to really hard launch the Institute for Northwest Energy Futures. So what he funded here is on this slide. Am I on your slide or am I still good? I can do it as well. Okay. I'll just run through quickly and you can comment. So it funded INEF to be headquartered here. Again, the $7.7 million, it says a new building. It's not really a new building. It's a recycled building across the street from the Wine Science Center. And then we'll have all of this faculty and staff support as well because of this funding. Now I think, oh no. So our first position that we hired is the director of the Institute for Northwest Energy Futures and the assistant director for the Institute for Northwest Energy Futures. I'll introduce them in a minute. We had an admin position as well, but we lost that. So we're back to the drawing board, but these are more positions that we will be able to hire. I know Zach is looking at me like, you have those kind of positions to do. Lots of positions that we'll be hiring for because of this funding. So I'm going to turn it over to our new director of the Institute for Northwest Energy Futures, Noel Schulz, and just briefly introduce Yonas Demissie, who is our assistant director. Yonas has been on our campus for a while. Noel is no stranger to WSU, especially the system, and she has been in the engineering department for 8 years, 7.5 years. Has held named chairs before and her work really stands for itself. She's been instrumental in helping our partnership with PNNL, and she'll help us develop that out further for the Institute for Northwest Energy Future. So we are very fortunate to have her, and you might recognize her name, but I'll let her talk about that should she wish.
All right, thanks, Sandra. So I do want to recognize Chancellor Haynes because really INEF, we have INEF on the Tri-Cities campus because of her efforts. And she's a little modest. Clean Up to Clean Energy she said it was inspired by a Bob, but it was developed by Sandra. But I really think this is a great opportunity for the WSU Tri-Cities as well as this community related to clean energy. So as she mentioned, we've got the director and assistant director and then a administrative staff. We're also excited to have a chance to work with WSU Extension as well as the WSU Energy Office. And you may not know, but we actually have a WSU Energy Office in Olympia that works with our legislature and works with our different departments and colleges and campuses, as well as with PNNL and other partners. So we're actually going to have some support of half a person that would be, the position is split between that person at the energy office as well as someone in extension, because one of the things that's important as we look at the land grant mission is the things we develop and work on in the Tri-Cities that we can implement them all over the state. And WSU Extension is a great partner for that because we have offices in every county, as well as our 4 research and extension centers. So having a partnership with INEF and Extension is going to be a great aspect of what we're doing. We also, and I should mention in this, these are all new positions, right? These are new funded positions. So this is additional money to WSU and the WSU Tri-Cities. So this is a great opportunity for us to expand and complement what we already have here in the Tri-Cities in these areas in the energy space. We're also going to have a communications person that we will be working in this area, some grant support and purchasing support. And then in our new building, we will also have facilities support, which is always a good thing when you get a building to have staff to help with that building. So we're very excited to have these new positions supporting. So one of the other things that's going to be really important as we talk about INEF is leveraging our existing activities and partnerships. And I just threw a couple up here. There are a lot more, but for this size room, you can only see probably 5 pictures and writing. So that's what I did. And so first we have Bessel, right? Which is an awesome, yeah, right over there. You can see it out the window. Bessel is a wonderful facility that we have here on campus, the Tri-Cities campus, that's really making a difference as we talk about sustainable aviation fuel. And also as part of that, we also have PNNL is interacting with Bessel through our Bioproducts Institute, or BioN as we call it for short. The Energy DOE Inclusive Energy Innovation Prize, WSU Tri-Cities was a leader in this and got recently $250K to help support this program. And that's really about workforce and having people understand, as well as energy equity and some of these other topics. The hydrogen hub that we have, and Kate McIntyre is leading that effort. And actually WSU Tri-Cities is leading the community engagement as we look at tribal involvement, as we look at labor, as we look at education and K through 12 and all those activities. Those are all important parts. And so that's activities that are already going on that we're going to be able to leverage. Sandra mentioned I've been working with PNNL and the Advanced Grid Institute, and I will continue to work with them. Someone else is going to be the co-director, so I can really focus on INEF and how do we stand this up. On this semester, I'm 50% finishing up activities in Pullman and 50% here, and excited that January 1st, I'll be 100% in the Tri-Cities and not dividing my activities and be able to really focus on INEF. We also have the Nuclear Science and Technology Institute, and that's a great partnership as well. And as we talk about the Columbia Basin and we talk about nuclear and the legacy here, what I call Also the expansion of new nuclear, as we talk about opportunities, it's really a great place, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. The other energy related activities across the WSU system. We had a Zoom call about 3 weeks ago, where we talked to all the different energy groups across the system. And we had probably about 30 people invited to that call. And it was really great to see that there's so many different opportunities where we can leverage together and work on making 1 + 1 greater than 2. Engineer, I gotta have at least one equation in here. So, but really, how do we leverage all these groups to do even more in the energy space? And one of the big things that we're going to be doing is looking at the systems approach. So Chancellor Haynes talked a little bit about electric vehicles, and I'm a power systems person, and I worry about the grid. But now you're going to plug in your electric vehicle, and now you want to make sure that there's power there that charges your electric vehicle. And you also want to make sure those electrons that are charging are green electrons as part of a clean energy environment. And so we need to, as we talk about hydrogen, and as we talk about sustainable aviation fuel and look at some of the feedstocks that go into making those fuels that may come from agriculture, may come from other areas. There's so many interdisciplinary activities in energy that I really think no matter what you do today, we could probably find a way to connect you to clean energy and our energy and INEF. And that's kind of what part of today is about, is a town hall for you to learn a little bit about what INEF is, but then also how can you get involved? And for some of you, we made 30 copies, and we have more than 30 people, which is a good problem to have. But we have some surveys that we can, we're asking you on kind of your thoughts to write down, and those online, feel free to reach out via email. You can talk to Yonas and myself, set up a meeting, and we can discuss what your thoughts are. This is an evolution of INEF, and so we're very open to ideas and suggestions and moving forward. As you see funding opportunities, all of us are very busy, get lots of email. We may not see a funding opportunity for research, educational, or an outreach activity. Send us a note and say, hey, have you seen this? And make sure. And if you are interested in that, say, hey, we need somebody that can help us in this, and this area. Can you guys help me identify those people? Whether it's within the WSU, on the Tri-Cities campus, within the WSU system, or external partners. And then we're looking at having probably a webinar series with INEF, so I encourage you to participate in that. And then also encourage you to share with your networks, whether it's LinkedIn, whether it's face-to-face interactions, a little bit about INEF. And if people want to know more, let us know, and we'd be more than willing to talk to them. So with that, and we do have an email, it's kind of small there at the bottom, but it's just tricities.inef@wsu.edu. And both Yonas and myself, as well as staff, will have access to that. So if you have ideas, that's a great place to email. So I want to turn it over next to Yonas to kind of talk about the opportunity we have in the faculty space.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Thanks for coming. Honestly, so one of the most exciting things about INEF is the fact that we're going to hire 8 new faculties on interdisciplinary research and educational activities on clean energy and sustainable energies. So this is really exciting, especially for the whole WSU system, but particularly for Tri-Cities. I think this position this hiring will position WSU at the forefront of the clean energy and education's research activities. It will open up a lot of collaboration opportunities. So with the new faculties we are having, I'm hoping it will re-energize the research activity we have at campus or across WSU system. So I see a lot of benefit, a lot of excitement associated to having 8 new faculties working on clean energy and sustainable energy areas. We will have 4 faculties and a director sitting at WSU Tri-Cities. And this includes faculties specialized in life cycle analysis, techno-economical analysis, data analytics, and social justice related to energy. And 3 faculty will be housed in Pullman, and those are related to expert related to critical earth minerals, expert related to nuclear energy, power, and grids. So currently the job announcement is out. So we are collecting applications. And in terms of committee members, our committee member consists of faculties from Tri-City campus, Pullman, and PNNL staff. So it's a cluster hiring. So we'll have one committee for the Tri-City campus, another committee for Pullman, and each committee we would like to make sure there is a representation from Tri-City, Pullman, and PNNL partners. Okay, so the first position we are looking into is the life cycle analysis for the Tri-City campus. So the goal here is we expect the faculty we are hiring is going to study the environment and the carbon footprints of clean energy supply chains, which involve with productions, storage, distributions, usage, and recycle. And most likely we anticipate that this faculty might be housed in a School of Engineering and Applied Science, or bioproduct science and engineering laboratory basis. So depending on what their research background is and what their expertise are. So once we identify the right candidate, we will determine which programs they would fit better. This is just to show you an example of the potential collaboration we envision. But again, even if they are housed in one of those programs, we are anticipating collaboration across different programs we have at campus. And these are the faculties that, at least right away, right on the outset, that they can collaborate depending on the research, the current research area. Those people can easily collaborate with the new faculty in life cycle analysis. Again, just to give you an example, there are more people who work on environment, water, and life cycle analysis that we envision with collaborate. The next position we are looking into is the techno-economic analysis. So faculty in techno-economic analysis, who will study the economic performance and feasibility of the clean energy production and service. And most likely this faculty will be housed in Carson College of Business. But the faculty is expected to collaborate with engineering, art and science, and other programs. And again, based on the current research activity, there is a lot of faculties that can easily collaborate with this new faculty. The next position is data analytics related to energy. Again, we anticipate this person will apply or use big data and machine learning techniques to predict energy demand, energy production, and consumption pattern. And most likely we anticipate the faculty will be housed in the School of Engineering and Applied Science, but again, it can collaborate with a different program we have in campus. And these are some of the faculty currently doing research for machine learning, data mining, that I think hopefully they can easily collaborate with the new faculty. The next faculty position we are looking at Tri-Cities is a faculty specialized in social justice to study the social impact of clean energy production policy programs, so that we will have a more sustainable and socially equitable energy programs. And this faculty most likely will be housed in Art and Science College, but again, we anticipate this faculty can collaborate with with engineering, business, and other programs we have in campus. And these are the example of list of faculties that they work on social justice related research that we anticipate will collaborate with them faculty. So in addition to that, we have 3 faculties in Pullman, so run by different committee as a cluster hiring, and their expertise are related to critical earth minerals. So we'll hire one faculty whose research area is in critical earth minerals. We'll hire another faculty on nuclear energy, another faculty on power and grid. For the critical energy and mineral, we anticipate it will join the School of Environment in Pullman. For the nuclear energy, they're going to join the School of Mechanical Engineering. And for the power and grid, he will join, or he or she will join the School of Electrical and Computer Science. But again, it's very exciting to have all these new faculties. Well, hopefully we will have them by fall 2024. So next year they will be on board. So it will be exciting spring times to filter those candidates and a lot of interviews. So a lot of, I think you guys will have a chance to hear different research topics, meet different people related to clean energy, sustainability. Really, it's an important research topics that I think it's really great to be at the forefront of this active research area. Thanks a lot. So I will pass to Damien, so he will talk about the buildings that INEF will be housed.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
So, for your faculty member, for example, how you gonna work, like a Bethel, all the member stay in the Bethel building, right? Then all the full-time faculty, 3 faculty, for example, are they gonna stay INF building or they stay in Pullman and work together?
So I think the 4 INEF faculty that will be hired and the director and the assistant director will have space in the building that Damien's about to talk to you about. We will also are working to have a hoteling space in there that anyone across the system, but particularly we'll probably have some dedicated space for our 3 Pullman hires to also be down here. One of the things we've talked to Pullman about is those candidates will be interviewing also in the Tri-Cities, in addition to being part of the Pullman interview process. So the idea is the INEF folks will be in the new building, but there will be synergy for others across the campuses to use some of those facilities. Whether and Damien, I don't want to steal his talk, but just the facilities we have there, there'll be space for visiting. If someone is collaborating and wants to have a visiting professor and some of those kind of things. We've also talked about some other ideas of possibly having some industry folks that might come and do kind of entrepreneurship in residence there, or even an energy expert in residence. So that space is still a work in progress. And we've had 3 weeks since the regents have approved the purchase of the building. So we're really looking at that space as a research collaboration hall. We have a collaboration hall we're in, but kind of energy research collaboration hall. But yes, the Pullman faculty will be housed in Pullman. But we, as you know, we will have a representative from the Tri-Cities on all 3 of the Pullman search committees, so that there's a connection to the Tri-Cities as well.
If I can add to that just briefly. I mean, we also, it's not just Pullman, as Noel said earlier. It's the extension centers and the people in Olympia too that we'll be collaborating with. So we will spend a lot of time probably on Zoom collaborating, but we will also have space for them to come, and there will be an expectation that whoever is involved with the Institute for Northwest Energy Futures, especially those who are hired for that, will be collaborative with the Tri-Cities faculty, and the Tri-Cities faculty hired there will be collaborative with everybody else across the system. It's a unique way, I think, for the system to operate, but I think it has very strong potential to bring together a lot of interdisciplinary research and inter-campus research as well.
So yeah, I was just gonna make a comment. So I assume like during the interview processes where, so even if it looks like someone is going to be, say it is a social justice person, and they are gonna be hired into arts and sciences, but there's clearly an opportunity for an affiliate appointment in Cs that will be encouraging that as well.
Yeah, we will explore all those collaboration opportunities, even housing affiliations is, I think one of the unique thing about this is we are not specific, the department is not specified ahead, so it's going to be determined based on the expertise of the candidate. So we have that flexibility, whether we affiliate them completely with one department or maybe partial affiliation across.
Yeah.
So there is that flexibility.
And we will have affiliated we'll have the INEF, maybe fellows, there are 7 that are being paid as part of this. There's positions, but we will also have affiliates that we want to have others that are involved in INEF related energy activities to be part of that. So it's not just those the 9 of us, right? The 7 plus 2, it's gonna be everybody. And that's part of what today is about, is for you to learn a little bit about it and be thinking about, well, how can I be involved in INEF and related to my classes, related to my research and outreach activities. Damien.
Hi, everyone. I'm Damien Sinnott. I'm the Vice Chancellor for Finance and Administration. And you were probably wondering why I was sitting up here with these 3 brilliant thought leaders. We were talking about multidisciplinary, collaborative, systems-based programs for energy futures. And the answer is, I'm here to talk about the where is all of this exciting work going to take place. So as we were putting this proposal together last year and thinking about the opportunity this institute would bring to the campus, we knew that we would need a unique space. We knew it was going to have to be large enough to allow for sort of rapid upstart of an institute. We knew that it would have to have enough space to allow us to grow probably relatively quickly. We knew that it would have to be unique in that it would have to have space for collaboration, both in terms of the system collaboration that we've talked about, but also probably collaboration with industry partners. I think Noel touched on some of that. We knew that it would have, we would have faculty who would have different types of needs, so they'd be doing different types of research. We need some labs, we need some office spaces, we need some open work areas, and we knew we didn't have that here on this campus available for an institute of this magnitude. So we thought about what are we going to do about that? And we'd have to look outside of campus. But one of the problems, one of the challenges that we had to overcome was we weren't really looking with an institute of this magnitude. We weren't really looking for a temporary home, but we didn't have capital dollars to buy a building. We were looking at putting together a proposal for operating funds. We can really only use those to rent or lease. So honestly, we all put our heads together system-wide, and we came up with what we thought was a creative solution. We weren't entirely sure if it would work, but the creative solution was, could we use operating funds to lease a building with an option to purchase it at the end of the lease, where the lease payments are basically applied to the ultimate purchase price. And we got permission to do that. So that's what we put into the budget proposal. That's what was accepted. And I think it's a first for WSU. It might be a first statewide, I don't know. But we got funds to do that. And this is what we're looking at. So this is the INEF building, soon to be located at 2982 Pauling Avenue. It's right across the street, across G-Way from the Wine Science Center, kind of adjacent to the new building that just got constructed by Adkins. We're familiar with this building, so we've used this building in the past. We leased this building for many, many years. It's housed different portions of our operations. So we've had researchers up there, we've had Gear up there, we had the Hanford History Project up there, but we have been out of that building for about 1.5 years or 2 years. And it has sat vacant and it was on the market. So we approached the ownership group and asked if they would be interested in a creative plan to lease it to own it, and they were. We got permission a couple weeks ago from the Board of Regents to move forward. We are really close on a lease agreement. I would think that we're probably going to have that executed by the end of this month. I hope that we're in the building. I wanted to say January, but I'm going to be optimistic and say the beginning of February. But honestly, it's a perfect building for our needs. So this building is 17,000 square feet. It has a 3,146 square foot high bay, which is amazing. I'm not sure that we know how we're going to use it right now, but we know we're going to use it. I think there's lots of opportunities there. It has about 6,000 square feet of furnished lab space that's divided currently over 4 labs. One of them, I'll just put an asterisk, is not furnished, but the other 3 are. And then it has over a dozen offices. It has a large area that could be a open working area. It could be a collaborative space for community type events. It just has all of the things necessary for the possibilities that this institute presents. It's 5.13 acres, conveniently located to campus, and it happens to be in the Innovation Partnership Zone, which was created for projects just like this. I put this up here just in case you're really interested in the floor plan. You'll see the large space here on the left side of the screen is the high bay. Immediately adjacent to it is an office suite, which is probably what will occupy at the beginning of the project, phase one, I would say. Adjacent to that, you'll see a big square, which is open space with probably, I think it's 10 or 12 offices in there. That's probably phase two as we hire our faculty. And then we have the lab space available. You can see samples of all of that down there. Honestly, I couldn't think of a better space. Its location is perfect for us. It's got all of the diverse spaces that we're going to need for this project. And it really is big enough for us to grow into for some time. So we're pretty excited that it was available. We're pretty excited that our creative approach to financing it was accepted. And we'll lease it for 3 years. We'll have an option that we'll exercise about this time, 2026. And that's all I have.
So we open it up for questions or comments at this point from the audience.
Yeah, and for those that are online, if you have a question, you can either unmute yourself or you can type it in the chat.
Oven.
How will we be held accountable for the funding?
Well, it's sort of, we spend it or we give it back. So we don't want to give it back. So we clearly laid out in our proposal for the funding, how we would spend the money. And we will have people, for our shoulders, making sure that we're doing what we said. I'm gonna get a little bit lost on biennium and ennium and that stuff because I still do, but we have to spend it within the biennium. Thank you. So the next 2 years to make sure that we have done what we said we would do. That's why we have the push on for the faculty hires. We're blessed to have had our director and assistant director hired almost immediately. We actually already have a custodian for the building. Is that not true?
No, we're gonna hire.
Oh, we're gonna hire. Okay, darn it. Dang. See, we were very close to an assistant too. So we've got a lot of positions that we are out hiring for now. We also have feelers out, of course, for research needs and what are these faculty going to need? We talked today about maybe putting some simulation kinds of experiments in the building as well. So we'll be building out beyond what that $7.7 million is. We're trying to find grants and other kinds of funding for that. Oh, that wasn't good enough.
Oh, just one more.
Okay.
Well, I guess my question really is how would the state know that the money has been well spent?
Well, I think, I think two things to add to what Sandra said. So basically, like normally now we have a budget for 1 year and we have to spend those money, right? And any leftover, depending on a lot of logistics, either rolls over or doesn't. But the advantage we have, particularly since we got the money in April, May, and we got it July 1, and we have to spend it, is we do have 2 years. So even though we don't have faculty this year, we can use some of those funds to kind of prepay for the building. And then later when we have faculty and activities, we have some money for other things related to that. So we do have that advantage. Now, of course, when we hit steady state, that's a little bit differently, but in this ramp up as we go in that. I think part of what we will do as we work on, particularly in the first quarter of 24, is really look at some strategic planning where we're talk about where do we want to be at the end. We've talked a little bit about some of our goals, but where do we want to be at the end of 1 year? Where do we want to be at the end of 2 years? And I really would hope the legislature would give us 4 years to really be able to have some concrete deliverables in that. And I feel my job as director is to be in Olympia, working with our government relations people, to be sharing regularly. These are things we're doing. I was fortunate to go with Sandra to Australia, and we not only do we interact with some people in Australia, but we interact with commerce, we interact with the governor's office. We talked about some of what we're doing at INEF. So my job is to be a cheerleader and make sure everybody knows the great things we're doing for INEF. So, but I do think, I would hope by July 1, we would have some target goals on how many faculty we have hired, how many proposals we have, how are we working with local businesses. We also maybe have a possibility of business or two that might want to lease some space in the building to do some startups and some things like that, as well as researchers on our campus that have things. So we're going to need to have some metrics and be able to talk about that, and we'll work with government relations. But that's one of my responsibilities as director, to make sure everybody knows the great things we're doing. And also looking at graduate students, looking at undergraduates that are involved in the energy space, looking at K-12 that we're sharing, and really the community benefits activities that we talk about, the hydrogen hub. That's really going to be an INEF general activity too, is involving the community.
So I would say, just adding to that, because I think you're spot on. I would say in general, the state will know because we will have made an impact, and that sounds just fluffy and what is this psychologist talking about? That has nothing to do with anything. But when we took this to the legislature, we said we would like to be able to use this data analytics. It's not just research, it's going to be applied research. We want to use the data that we're gathering so that we can be an honest broker in informing policy decisions and helping industry make the transition from the state we are in now, the state of Washington, the carbonized state that we are in now, to a decarbonized future. So we will be putting out our research will be impacting how people think about the clean energy future. Thank you. I think Ryan was next and then Mark.
So have we envisioned setting aside some funds for specifically earmarking them for like undergraduate research experiences and other things that tie to the university's educational mission, in addition to the applied research that they'll be doing?
We're very much hoping to involve undergraduates in the research that we're doing, and we also envision, as far as the education mission goes, we also envision creating some new programs. Those have not been completely defined, but one of the sort of overarching thoughts is, do we do something in systems analysis? Do we have a systems engineering or some other sort of systems or data analytics? Education programs, undergraduate and graduate. So that's kind of the step 2 that we're looking at too. But yes, those are on the horizon and on our mind as we move forward, because we want to make sure that we're meeting all of the tripartite piece of our mission. And education is definitely a piece of that.
I think this is an opportunity for us, just like the Innovation Prize, this interdisciplinary, is for us as faculty, maybe have a National Science Foundation grant and they want to do a research experience for undergraduate. We could apply for some large energy REUs, but also let's say 5 faculty have someone and they're looking for programming over the summer. We can work together to help develop that programming as a group. So the social scientists learn more about the engineering and the arts and sciences. And so we get that cross pollination across those areas because of the energy efforts and some of that. So to be honest, our first priority are the faculty. And then, if you build it, they will come. So once we get the faculty to add to our current faculty, then we'll have more opportunities to get the students and some of that. So, and I would hope that we would also be applying for some of these traineeships and research experience for undergraduates and other things that we can do, particularly with our status as really having a lot of first gen, as well as students of color that we can use to try to leverage in different programs for INEF.
We have already impacted curriculum through the DOE Innovation Prize. I wanted to say that. So we do have some curriculum at the undergraduate level already.
Okay, I'm gonna elaborate on Ryan's curiosity here, and I think you just kind of answered this question a little bit. But I too am curious, how does this, this looks very promising and good, specifically for the Institute, but how does it help us in general? Our budget, keeping the lights on, offering more majors, and attracting and retaining more students?
Well, one of the things we know about a lot of students of today, they're very interested in climate, and they're very interested in energy, and they're very interested in the environment. And so so for that reason only, we should attract more students. Our interdisciplinary focus should help us attract students across majors and across disciplines as well. So in general, we have plans that this will impact all of our majors on campus in some way. So definitely it's going to help. Before we actually put together the institute, I should have mentioned, because we have Judy and Bevan right here and Chinky back there. We did meet with all the academic directors and asked them, could you see your programs fitting into the Institute for Northwest Energy Futures in some way? And every one of them said, yes, we would be able to do that. So we know that we have created this with very broad impact in the educational sphere and across the campus. So the other very exciting thing is that it keeps the lights on, because we got M&O on the building, which we don't have on many of our buildings. We only have it now. We have it on this building, the Floyd building, and now this new building. That's the only thing we've got state funded M&O on. And so that does help us keep the lights on. That does not come out of our budget anymore. That comes out of the budget that the state provided us, which is very exciting. And so it should be impactful in many ways. It also helps us reputationally. And I know that sounds squishy again too, but that is a very important factor. Dick is saying no.
No, it's extraordinarily important.
It's a very.
Because the Tri-Cities has solved the problem for WSU for the last 35 years of building buildings that don't generate, where the state doesn't feel like they have any obligation to help. So, yeah.
Well, and I would also add, I think as we get to steady state, because we have the diversity of experience across both the Tri-Cities campus and the system, we can go for bigger grants. We can go for some of the bigger proposals, and we'll have staff support to help with that. And so my hope would be then that helps get more overhead dollars, which help feed back into the system and it helps have more undergraduate activities. I mean, we're adding 4 new faculty that we wouldn't have. So those are people that are going to be teaching classes. That means that load in other areas, that helps hopefully you have a lighter load in other areas because we have those 4 new faculty. So, but I really would hope that as we were able to, because we're so interdisciplinary, we're able to really go for some things and show the state and the university's commitment to these interdisciplinary activities. And as Sandra has told me numerously this semester, Tri-Cities is kind of the test kitchen, right? In Pullman, when we do these kind of things, it's pulling teeth because this group doesn't talk to this group. This is being recorded, so I'm in trouble. But one of the things I've seen, even just since I've been here, it's easier to kind of go talk to someone down the hall where you don't have as big some of those walls up informally, and I think that's going to be a great way that we can demonstrate both and help improve the community and really, to be honest, the Columbia Basin is an energy power, for lack of really between the solutions of the past and the solutions of the future. So I really think it's going to also be able for us to connect more with industry, connect with startups, and all of these things. I think, in 10 years, when you look back at this, I would hope you would be able to show all these different things that weren't here in 2023 that are there in 2033 because of INEF.
So I think the other question is what's acceptable to people? Because ultimately people are the consumers of all of these wonderful ideas. And what we've learned recently is people don't really like windmills, for example. We apparently have learned that the state doesn't really like solar very much because they haven't figured out any way to effectively deploy it in a place that claims to have 500 days of sunshine a year.
I haven't seen that in the last 2 weeks, I have to say.
Yeah, but you and I both know that the sun shines more here than it does in Seattle.
Yeah, it does more.
So I think it's kind of a question of not only what's possible, but what will people actually adopt? Because having spent the last 5 years on the East Coast, in the moment before my death, are you going to pry my gas stove out of my kitchen, for example, right? mean, it's an issue of what will people accept, which suggests that there need to be a couple more social scientists around. Because, you know, if we'd done this when somebody invented the cell phone, we would have figured out that people were gonna use them in their cars. But we didn't figure that out. We're horrified that people use cell phones in their cars, right? And we had to make it a law, so. So
That's the
there
beauty of
needs to
the
be some of those
analytics,
people
right.
around, besides,
No, absolutely. But I would say two things to you. That's why we need that interaction, because we in Russell right over there have natural gas going on right now. So maybe we don't need to try, maybe we just need to change our source of
Correct.
natural gas, and now we're not affecting your behavior. Who knows? I mean, but if we do have to affect your behavior, we do need those social science people on board to help us figure out how we're going to change behavior. I see Pauline going.
So I'll just add one quick thing is we would hope also that this would help with recruitment of folks that are interested in the energy, social sciences of energy, that they would have a place that they could really work with. And I agree with you, the social science aspect is so important. And not only do we need researchers to help that, we need to make sure our STEM graduates understand the importance of that. And energy is a great environment for people to learn about social sciences impact in engineering and sciences. And so I think it's a platform for us to help engineers understand that they need the social scientists, that a solution that looks good to them may not, like you said, be the optimal
they
solution.
don't have.
And we need that. But I also hope we can have, as we look at new positions, we can recruit people that say, oh, I want to be part of INEF in the social sciences because they've got this and this going. So I would say about recruitment as well as building on the folks we already have.
But I think it's incumbent on you to fully parameterize the problem, right? And not just focus on the technologies.
Yeah, and that's a lot of what INEF is about.
Interdisciplinary
Very
focus. So, well, thank you all for coming.
Yeah, thank
Really
you so
appreciate
much.
it. Any questions?
No, if you have feedback on the form, and if you didn't get a chance to fill out the form, please feel free to just drop it in campus mail to us. And thank you so much. It's a great turnout, especially the week before exam. So appreciate it.